For the latest information regarding the COVID-19 pandemic in Cupertino, please visit cupertino.org/coronavirus.
Hi everybody, thank you for joining us. I'm Larry Little, Public Information Officer here at the county's Emergency Operations Center. And this morning I'm joined by Mimi Hernandez with the Latinx business circle. And in just a few moments, we will discuss the impacts that COVID-19 has had on small businesses, available resources, and how you can help as a consumer. But first, I want to let you know that safety is a priority for us here at the Emergency Operations Center. And prior to this broadcast, we did remove our facial coverings, but we'll be sure to put them back on for the rest of the day. Thank you for being here. You know, when I first moved to, I lived in Dallas for many years in Texas, and a lot of franchises there. But when I moved here, I fell in love with this place because there were so many small businesses, from restaurants to dry cleaners. Here, reminded me of when I was a kid growing up in Arkansas. But those places are really being impacted now. Tell me about your organization first and your experience with working with businesses here in Santa Clara County.
Sure, and thank you for having us today. As he mentioned, we did start with our masks and we are removing them, and we'll be returning them back to the place where they need to be at. For us, Latinx Business Circle is a collective of business advisors, industry experts, and business trainers we're housed at the Prosperity Lab, a nonprofit 501c3. For the last year, we have facilitated over 60 free workshops, which became webinars most recently. We have provided individual assistance to business owners. We're also doing some relief assistance, helping people complete applications and businesses complete applications for the PPE loans and other funds that are being made available to them. We're also having topics around COVID compliance, HR compliance, wage theft, marketing, branding, capital strategies is a popular as well. Some business tax preparation, and some lean canvas remodeling of businesses at this point.
So COVID-19 has been devastating to a lot of small businesses, from the salons to fitness centers to even the self-employed, for people who work for you know, some of the rideshare companies like Uber and Lyft. What are you hearing from entrepreneurs right now?
What we are hearing is a real concern about the uncertainty. You know, the openings, reopenings, closing. That's what has been at the root of most of the anxiety that is out there. The economic losses for the family-owned businesses in general is very widespread. And of course, you know, Latino and African-American communities and employers have been affected in a rate that is disproportionate to the rest of the communities. It's difficult for a lot of our businesses to develop a strategy or a long-term plan if they are uncertain about when they will be able to open, or if they will be having to close down again. So it certainly is more around uncertainty of opening and closing dates.
So what's your advice to a small business owner just trying to stay afloat right now, and maybe you know, they've been closed for 3 or 4 months?
So at this point, one of the things that we are really trying to focus our businesses on is operational deficiencies. You know, really looking at how you are operating your business, what is it costing you, and getting that and really moving towards, can you imagine your business doing things different, you know, getting out of your comfort zone. You know, our restaurants were a very good example of that, you know, really changing their menu to make it more of a to-go, having to reinvent how they do the outside dining. Lucky for us, this is warm weather right now, but in the winter, I imagine we're going to have to do different things. But the number one thing is reimagine and really look at how you have your business structured. Is this a good opportunity for you to say, do we need to rent 10,000 square feet? You know, could we reduce it? You know, could some of our folks work from home? And how do we keep our workers safe? It's another thing that I really want to challenge employees to think about. We are so used to doing things in a certain way. We're going to have to get out of that and really, really think about how do we keep the doors open? How do we operate with a lower overhead? and how do we re-engage and have meaningful conversations and touch points with our customers.
So I was reading this article here in the Detroit Free Press, and it talked about a lot of the small businesses getting loans. And you can see that article there. It says only one listed as Black-owned. That's a whole nother show. We won't cover that today. But what it talks about is a lot of people did not identify as being a minority-owned business because they thought that would affect them getting a loan. But there's a stigma tied to getting loans within minority communities. Just kind of talk about that. People are afraid. I read in this article that there was one family from India, and the son said, my parents always told me, you never get a loan to fix a bad situation. Just talk about that for me.
I can tell you, especially coming from an immigrant community, and Santa Clara County is composed with a lot of immigrants that have come here with nothing and have built quite a bit of businesses and success and have been able to create jobs. And I can tell you that's how my father came here. And my father didn't get his first credit card until he was 45 years old and was ready to buy a house. He said, you never borrow from the future. And there was also the stigma for some of the people in our community around asking for help when we don't want to be taken as a community that is here to get a handout, or for us minorities to be perceived as, oh, we need that extra help, or we're trying to get that extra upper hand because we're people of color. And I think we don't have time for that right now. We all need to survive. It isn't just about you; it's about the employees that depend on you and being able to work with you. And these are very extraordinary times. But on the same hand, I've had business owners who did not qualify for any assistance. The East Side largely is a cash economy. So trying to record losses for cash transactions was very challenging. There were business owners who have been paying tax revenues for decades and did not receive a cent of assistance. So the same can be said, but there is a stigma in our communities about not asking for assistance or not asking for a loan.
Just from that last response, is it more difficult for small businesses that are cash only when it comes to things like this? Because I know a lot of times the records may have not been kept, they have a harder time tracing things, so it makes it difficult when you need assistance.
Any type of assistance. I worked with a relief assistance program a few years ago, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, and that was one of the big challenges. We had to help the businesses first create a record base of what the sales had been coming in and out and their expenditure before they could even begin to apply for relief assistance. And some of those took a few months to get together. So we're running into the same problem right now, that micro enterprises particularly that don't know that they're not supposed to be keeping records a certain way are doing so. So right now when we're trying to rush to make these deadlines and apply for PPE for them, it becomes very challenging.
So a lot of businesses don't know what assistance is available to them right now. What information are you giving small businesses and self-employed people?
So when people are coming into our center or calling our phone line, or even just tagging us on social media asking us for assistance, the first thing we do an analysis about where they're at and how they keep records, what the losses have been, and then we try to either help them apply for the SBA loans. There's a number of different things to assist. We always want to make sure that they truly understand what the guidelines are going to be for that loan so that they don't get into another pickle with that. There's other alternative sources of funding, for example, Working Solutions, Opportunity Fund, Kiva. But one of our main sources is that we always go to the Business Owner Space group that the City of San Jose hosts, where we have over 25 partners, from SCORE to SBDC, and New America, Capital Venture Partners, that have those resources and include the technical assistance that is required, because merely pointing to a resource is not enough. We do need to take a hands-on approach, and we need to make sure the businesses understand how to apply and receive the assistance to do so.
Let's just keep it real. Sometimes when you're working with small businesses, do you have to deliver bad news saying that there's no help for you?
Yes, and it's heartbreaking. I have been in this industry for about 8 years, and I think this was the first time that that we as a team of business circle of advisors, that we had to sit down and have these conversations about having to help business owners close. What is the correct process? Talking to them about bankruptcy. And then, that was new to us. We've never really had to engage with a lot of that. It was usually the exception, not the rule. And those conversations are taking place, and we will have to start facilitating those kinds of webinars and those kinds of assistances.
Wow, amazing. If people are interested in finding more information about resources available, of course, you can go to our website at sctgov.org/coronavirus. And go to the Operate My Business Safely tab under How Do I? And plenty of information there also for employees as well. And you have the information there about assistance and resources. Now, just know this, because someone left us a very nasty comment last week because they contacted somebody on this list, and that this company, this organization did not get back with them. We just provide the resources and the information. We don't actually handle the process. So what role can consumers play in supporting small businesses? For example, it starts with as simple as wearing a mask into the business. Some people that you've seen the videos, of course, too, where people give someone such a hard time just about wearing a mask, but the business is only following the rules of their jurisdiction. So what can consumers do to help small businesses during this period?
So I always say, first and foremost, if you're in a position to still be able to go dine or buy or engage in business with some of the small family-owned businesses and the micro enterprises, please do so. Buy gift certificates, use their curbside services, post a positive review about your experience with them, and wear a mask. I think that's one of the most significant things we can do. Wear a mask every day. That's going to help us all to get the curve going back down, and hopefully have us go back to some sense of normalcy, so that the businesses can stay open and can get through this. Also, I would say if you're in a position to do policy or come up with programs, financial support, low interest loans for some of these small businesses, rent forgiveness, because a lot of them not only have to make a mortgage or rent house, they also have to pay the rent or the mortgage in the building that they have their business in. So if you like I said again, if you are in a position to influence any of those three things, please do so. That's
one of the first things, when I was on vacation and came back, when the shelter in place started, and all the shelves were empty at all of the stores that I normally go to. But it was interesting when I went to some of the small corner stores in my neighborhood, their shelves were full. So I think we should buy everything off the shelves of the small businesses in our neighborhoods first, and then go to the larger businesses, because a lot of times they have more financial stability in the larger businesses because they fall under a corporate umbrella. And especially, my friends in Gilroy and Morgan Hill, we especially want to shop those small businesses, keep them afloat. And I know it's a tough time now for salons and different other businesses, but please don't go to Santa Cruz County. Just hold on for a little bit. We're working on it to get those businesses open, because it's really important that we shop our small businesses, especially in South County. So a lot of businesses have gone into debt trying to just prepare for social distancing, the protocols. What's your advice to them, because they must follow the state and local directives?
I don't think I've had a problem with any of the businesses that we work with that are not willing to do the compliance. I think that most of the rules are pretty straightforward. Some of the businesses that are housed in with less square footage, of course, are going to have challenges with that. but I think there's definitely a goodwill to do it, but they do sometimes are going to need some help with some of the specific guidelines when you get to industries like a small retail store that only has, 200 square feet. They're already struggling with ADA compliance, and then you're adding the COVID compliance. But I think for us, we do workshops around that, and we're trying to make them industry specific. And some industries are easier than others.
Mm-hmm. So it's so much uncertainty right now. Are you seeing much optimism from small business owners?
There's a few.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few that have been surprisingly with things that have happened to them. Some, our house downtown. And again, I'll say it's a lot of the immigrant communities where we're seeing that positivity, the same spirit that drove them here with nothing to start. And they still see the opportunities in the United States, and specifically living in Silicon Valley. And I have to praise those fellows, because there are days that I wake up and I am a little bit challenged,
mm-hmm.
but I have to concentrate on what we can do and what we are able to assist our businesses with. But there is a light of hope within our businesses, and era of positivity.
Yeah, we will get through this. We're going to take a look at our data dashboard. We continue to encourage everyone to practice social distancing, wear a facial covering, and stay at home if you don't need to go out. Just over the weekend, we had more than 300 confirmed COVID-19 cases. You can see here our cumulative number is currently at 7,456, 177 deaths so far. Thank goodness, no new deaths, and certainly our thoughts are with the families who have lost loved ones due to COVID-19. We're going to switch gears here because you've had a personal experience with several with COVID-19,
mm-hmm.
but a lot of people don't believe this pandemic is real. They think we're driving and promoting fear. But I want to read this post from social media that one of my friends put from their sister. She says, "So my husband went to help my brother-in-law on his car, but plans changed and a few friends and family members came by to visit my brother-in-law's neighbor and my husband's other brother as well." So they were having a party. Now everyone at the party tested positive for COVID-19, including both of my brother-in-laws. My husband is not showing signs of sickness, but I am still making him get tested. His appointment is tomorrow. I hope he doesn't have COVID-19 because it could really affect our family. So this is out in the community, and you've had personal experiences with it. Could you just share that?
So, out in the business community in the East Side, we've had at least 5 deaths within our business owners that have occurred. One of them, of course, husband, wife, and then the other 3 family members that passed away within a week of each other. And for me, it makes it very real. I told you my first cousin, my nephew is an EMT who's transporting the folks who are infected. It's very real to us every day, the risk that business owners take when they have to open their doors and people are not complying. Whenever anyone in our business community or in our family passes away, for me, it just reminds me that this is very real. This is not a hoax. And I think sometimes it takes knowing someone or having that constant fear every day that your niece, nephew, brother, uncle is going to come down with COVID. And what if they don't recover? My cousin was lucky. He recovered. He's a doctor in Mexico City,
mm-hmm.
and he was part of the task force out there. And he did come back to work. He's still a little affected, but we were pretty lucky. And hopefully, it doesn't have to come down to you having to lose someone close to you or a family member before you realize that this is a very cruel, slow disease, and this is not the way you want things to go down.
Mimi, thank you so much for being here and sharing the information that's going to assist small businesses
mm-hmm.
get through this, as well as sharing the personal story as well. We're here constantly hearing the stories all day. Somebody made the comment last week that said, you all, sometimes you smile a little bit too much when you're talking about this. We have to smile because we've been at this for over 4 months now, and we're hearing the stories. One story was a small business owner he's unemployed. he's taking his unemployment check to pay the rent at his family salon to keep them open. There's another story where a salon owner already, has a deficit, and she has taken her money and invested in making upgrades so she can reopen. And trust me, we're doing everything to get the salons open. You can believe that. We've been in contact. The governor's office may block us because we are trying to get our businesses back open. People are working hard here at the county. So thank you so much. Hang in there. We'll get through this together. One thing, some of my greatest moments in life have come after a bad period. So if we just get through this, things will be better. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and have a good day, and be safe and look out for yourself, but most of all, look out for your neighbor.
For the latest information regarding the COVID-19 pandemic in Cupertino, please visit cupertino.org/coronavirus.